All right, so apparently the sky's falling. Well, I really don't believe that, but if you are reading the news and watching the media, then you'll think that everything's terrible and everything's going south. And, this great idea you had on investing and making a lot of money on the stock market during Corona is just this terrible idea. But it's just not. So, first of all, the last week we looked at has been a down week pretty much across everything. I mean, I don't really think there's one sector that's up for the most part. Maybe there's some individual stocks that are up, but for the most part, it's just down, 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 down. Now, if you're a traditional stock investor, you're like, oh, this sucks. My value's going down. And you start to worry. But the way we do things here, we focus on things that are completely different. Number one, we want to focus on driving down our cost basis. So when we're buying stocks, we want to buy stocks as low as possible. We want to find stocks that are established industry leaders, stocks that actually have consistency pre-COVID. So, we're not looking at stocks that are, all over the market pre-COVID and then COVID hits. We're looking for ones that are just basically pretty flat, maybe have an upward curve to them before COVID hit. And obviously, like I said, I like buying stocks where the companies where, when they're talking about a government bailout, they send their lobbyists to Washington and they're basically in line to get free government money, because that just means the government's not going to let them off the hook. And then when you look at the TV and if there's any industry where they say we're not going to let them fail, you want to buy that stock. And so we've done that as well, whether it's oil or travel or casinos and things like that. Like especially casinos, it's 90% of Nevada's economy. It's not going anywhere. It is literally the bulwark of the entire state. And so, obviously that's some of the stuff we look at. So with that being said, the market's gone down all week. Now, normally when the market's gone up, for example, let's look at the past month off my portfolio. When it was up here, I was like, oh, this is great. The valuation's really high. It's going up. And we do enjoy that. Don't get me wrong. I really do enjoy that. But the only problem is when we're sitting here, it makes it hesitant for me to buy anything because I really don't want to buy anything at a high value. And so really the only thing that's precipitated this, kind of fall in value right here, especially this is kind of the last week right here, right, is just concerns about coronavirus. But when you look into the stats, one of the things you're going to find is it's way overblown. And so people thought that we were going to have this, and I don't really care whether we did or not, but people thought that we're going to have this kind of V-shaped recovery. Well, you don't really see it on here because we bought afterward, but the market went down like jagged shark teeth and was flat for a little bit, and then it went up, and they thought it was just going to keep going up. But then all of a sudden, when you got more cases happening, then people got worried. And really it precipitated, let's be fair and let's be honest, you have all these protests in the street where you have 50,000, 100,000 or more people running through the streets, not having masks on, not social distancing, and not doing any of the things that we're supposed to do. I was sitting here in early June going, all right, well, let's just wait about 2 to 3 weeks and you're going to see a bunch of cases happen, which is exactly what happened. But what happened is, in looking at the data, and I'm kind of a data nerd, so if you haven't looked at the data, I have. But basically what happened is the average age, like basically in March and April and May, of people that had coronavirus were people that were reported being really sick. They went to the hospital, and the average age was like 65 or something. It was definitely like mid to upper 60s. And in the second half of June, really all of June, the average age is like 30. And so what it means is that younger people are getting it, and as a result, like they're getting it, but they're not really symptomatic. I mean, I even looked at locally here in San Diego County, and one of the things that I found here was that they were like, oh yeah, we had doubled our coronavirus positivity count, a day this week. And then it's like, okay, fair enough. Well, I'll look at some of the data. And then I looked at, well, they've also doubled the number of tests. So then I went to the positivity rate, which is like if you take 100 coronavirus tests on average, how many of them come back positive? And basically for the last month and a half, it's been flat at 3%. In fact, it's gone down. If it's veered away from 3%, it's gone down. and then it went up back to 3%, but it hasn't changed. So the only thing that changes, we're substituting the older, instead of having the older people who are getting coronavirus and going into hospitals, or people with really bad conditions, you're getting people with really strong immune systems who are younger, who are testing positive because they probably went to a protest. They got a test for the coronavirus and it came back positive. Fine. Well, they were non-symptomatic, or they had a light cough, or it wasn't anything where they had to go to the hospital, much less an intensive care unit, much less them dying. In fact, I looked at all the cases, and every single one of them said the person that died was old. Like literally they all had underlying health concerns. And then I looked at the ones that didn't, and they were all, I think with the exception of one, they were all like 65, 70 years old. And there weren't really that many of them. So one of the things that we're finding is you're going to have you're going to have the number of testing has gone up. So the more tests you're going to have, the more positive cases. And I was talking to somebody this past week and they weren't kind of getting it. And I was like, well, let's say you take two groups that are the same group, but they're just split up, right? And you have one group and there's 100 people in each group, and you test 50 people in the first group, or you test all 100 in the first group, and it comes back that you have 6 people with coronavirus. And then you have that same 100 people and you test 10 of them and 1 of them comes back. So you have 1 test here is positive and 6 tests here. Which group is sicker? Well, you might think the 6th person, but neither of them. It's just that you don't know. When you test more people, you're going to get more positive people. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. But one of the things we're not finding is we're finding that the hospitalizations are way down. Like here in San Diego County, they had there's a 6,000 hospital bed capacity, and the number of people with coronavirus that were using them was like 300 or 200. I mean, it was nowhere near capacity. And in fact, it's so low that the hospitals are actually having people use their hospital beds for elective surgeries. And they have this big blow up in Houston how, they're getting close to like 95% of their hospital beds. Well, when you look into it, you find out that they're getting like elective surgeries. They're getting boob jobs. They're getting, sports injury. They're basically getting meniscus surgeries, things like that. And they're going to be in and out of the hospital really, really quickly. And so it's not really a concern. But you look at the media and the way they portray things, and the consumer sentiment based on the media, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's coming back with a vengeance. We were not out of it. We're going to have to lock down again. And it's like, no, we're not. Nobody's going to lock down. The federal government is not behind it. Even here in California, which we have a crazy governor, he's not ready to lock down. In fact, they're not even taking us back from stage 3 to stage 2. We're still not moving. So what you're finding is a lot of mania. And so it drives the stock price down. So for me, I'm not looking at the stock. I don't care what the stock price is in June. I really don't. I mean, if it's this really high number, great, fine. Woohoo, throw me a little party. I don't necessarily care all that much. Now, where do I want it to be in December? Well, that's a whole different story. I think in December or January, then I have an idea of kind of where I want it to be. But for right now, I don't really care. But the fact that the stock market is going down means that the prices go down. So I'll look at this over the last day, and it went down $4,600. And for the week, it's $8,700. And it's like, oh, okay, we lost $8,700. So what? Like, I'm way up. Like, overall, I'm up 53% right here. So I don't really care. But what I do like is I like to see that when these prices go down, I get to buy them lower. So as we look at the chart right here, slide this over a little bit, we see our upside, which when the market was really high, I think the top upside was like 3. Now we're getting basically, and Yuko's always high. It's been coming down. Yuko's been holding up really well, so that's good. Because consumption is high, and when consumption's high, oil usage is high, and when oil usage is high, the price of oil goes up. And when the price of oil goes up, stocks like Yuko go up. So, but beyond that, we have 2 of them at basically 5. We have a couple just about at 4, and then we have a whole bunch in the mid to high 3s. And so one of the things that I was thinking about over the last couple of days as I looked at this, anything over 3, just basically these, right? I want to own all of them if possible. So I've owned all of these. I had Velocity. We'll talk about that. I did a limit sell on that. and we'll talk about why we did that. But Texas hospitality jumped up. This has always been low. So this is one I'm probably going to put a limit order in this weekend because Texas hospitality was always like down here. But the fact that it's rearing its head up here is great. So we're probably going to put a limit order in for that. Norwegian, that one actually was doing really well, and then all of a sudden when the mania hit, it dropped, and so now all of a sudden it's over 3. It has a 59% of analysts saying buying it. When I look at my 4 separate analyst recommendation sites, so you have Yahoo Finance, MarketBeat, MarketWatch, and there's another one. It's a universal buy, so we might consider getting this one again. So I'll highlight this as well. And I'm going to make that decision over the weekend. I'm not necessarily sure what I want to do quite yet. Menlo is 100% buy, and clear that out. And that's about 3%, so maybe that's a buy. We might consider that. I might go light on this one. And PBF, that's another one. It's interesting. That's another oil stock. So we'll take a look at that one over the weekend. I want to really sit down. The nice thing about being a Friday is we're not trading over the weekend, so I can sit down and really look at the numbers, go over the news, read people's blogs, and get a sense on what is going on. I can always double check these analyst recommendation numbers as well. So, but beyond that, we're pretty much going to own all the stocks with a high turnaround. All right, so let's talk about some of the movement that we've done the last day or two. So, all right, so the last day or two, I wanted to free up some money so that we could buy more stocks at a low price. So we ended up signing Velocity Financial, which is a mortgage financing company. They do mortgage applications. So we sold this at $4. Let's see, we currently, what do we buy this for? We'll unhide these. All right, so we bought it for $3.56, sold it for $4, and even right now it's at $4.05, so that's a good thing that we did. We freed up $3,000, which is good. RDI we're waiting for. That's probably not going to fill for a while. Hufflin Mifflin is one. I just don't have my heart totally set on it. It's currently at $179. If it gets up to $195, then we'll go ahead and sell it. I currently bought it for $193, so once it moves up about 15 cents, we'll clear up another $2,000 up. From here, XAN, which is one of our new ones here. I just don't. It's a new stock. I don't really have my heart behind it necessarily, and it's not like one of the key cogs in what we're doing. So it's currently at 257. When it goes to 322, we bought it at 321. So just take a penny per share gain on that. We'll clear another $4,000 on that. And then GNC filed for bankruptcy, which we kind of were talking about. Remember I said that I bought it mainly as a flyer because we wanted to, I thought there was going to be a potential merger. And what happened is they basically delayed, they got approval to delay payments for a month, which screamed like merger negotiations. And so they basically filed for bankruptcy, which means that my guess is the merger negotiation, those people probably just said, we're going to go vulture capital, we'll let you file for bankruptcy, and we're going to pick you off in the bankruptcy court. Now, the reason this is actually good, normally you'd say, well, if it's bankruptcy, that means the stock value collapses. Not necessarily. If we looked at Hertz and at, what was the other airline that went bankrupt? Latin American Airlines. They had a whole bunch of people that their calls expired and they basically had to rebuy their stocks, and their stock went up by like 300% for a blip period of time. So with that being said, I said, okay, we're going to set a mark on this. I bought it for 50 cents. If it goes up to 150, which it very well might, then we'll clear another 2,000 off of this. And if not, I bought it for 50 cents, so $700. So even if it's zero, I lose $700. I'm not super concerned about that. But it usually takes a few weeks for it to go through, so I'm going to keep a close eye on this on the next week. Beyond that, we had a limit order. We decided limit buy we're going to do for IVR because it was doing so well. And if we look at here, it's number 2 on the upside, basically at 5 right now. So we filled it at 380, and got an upside of 4.81, which is really good. The only thing about it is that we actually lowered our cost basis a little bit, so that's kind of good. But it went up a lot. As soon as super sentiment went up, then this stock went up as well. So with that being said, all right, we decided to put a limit in for VVI, which is Viad, which is basically a travel company. It used to be Greyhound, but they do a lot of other like travel reservations and things like that. And so that one, if we look at VVI, it's up here as well. I put it light green, meaning it has a really good, not a solid, oh my gosh, you got to buy this, but a pretty good buy. And I looked at some of the numbers and some of the things they had from their earnings call, and it looked like it was a really well-run company. So we put that in at 15.50. It's currently at 16.19. And to be honest, it's one that even if it doesn't fill, then that's fine. But it better, if we're going to get it, it's going to be because it drops a lot. Beyond that, TXMD was another one we looked at. So I went down and was looking at this one, and I noticed that this one was at about 1 before, but it's now at 1.8, which is not that big of a deal if you're looking at everything else, but it's a biotech company, and they're not a COVID type stock. So it has a 78% buy, but particularly all the price targets are around $7. So I'm thinking, dude, if this can drop down to $1, then I can have basically a 7 times upside on this stock. And biotechs can sit around and not do much, and then all of a sudden they have something go through and it explodes. So we put a limit order for $1, 1,000 shares, and kind of see what happens at that point. So far we are sitting here overall at we've invested $33,000. We're currently at 51. Our net holdings are about 66, so we're at about a 53% gain. Current stock holdings after reinvestments are up about 13,000. But we're looking to do some strategic buys over the weekend. We'll probably bring in some outside money as well to take advantage of this downside. So when everybody else is sitting here thinking that the world's going to end, we're going to take advantage on this and make some money. All right, so with that being said, we'll look at stock futures. So we'll go to CNN, and it just talks about economic outlook. But again, it's based on testing and more cases, and people are just scared about it. But they're always talking about cases. They're not talking about hospitalizations and deaths. And if you remember early on, there were people that said, look, everybody's going to get this. Pretty much everybody in the country is going to get it. And so this is not really too much of a shock. And then partly if you look at herd immunity, and I don't know, I'm not a scientist, I don't know whether that's a real thing or not. But if it is, then you want people who are healthy getting it, because then they're going to be out of the clear, and it's going to help make sure that there's not some crazy outbreak of a bunch of sick people going into hospitals, overwhelming the hospitals, and dying. So with that being said, it's down. Early on, it's a little bit down, and my dog is whining. You can hear him, Kenji. My dog's anyway. It's down a little bit. I'm going to take a look at this over the weekend, but I'm counting on another down day on Monday. If we can get that, then I'm going to get some killer deals with a lower cost basis. We look at stock on investing, and sometimes they don't update theirs, which they didn't. So we'll go to Dow Futures, and this one, yeah, they haven't updated theirs as. I don't think they have. Let's take a look here. 24,900. Yeah, they haven't updated theirs as well, because this reflects the current day. So we'll take a look and see what happens. But overall, we're not looking at, unlike a lot of other people, we're not looking at the biceps, like the glory numbers. Oh my gosh, look how much money I have here. I don't care about that. And even the red ones aren't really too much of a concern. What it does, it gives us an opportunity to buy low and reduce this cost basis as low as possible. At the same time, we're going to increase this upside as much as possible. We take a look at Robinhood investor ratings, and then we also go to separate analyst recommendations and take a look at those. So if we want to buy those that are doing really well, especially ones that we've noted, like Texas Hospitality, Norwegian Cruise Line, and specifically Texas Hospitality and PBF, which we're always down low. So I have a chance to get into those, or definitely probably not going to happen again. So I'll take a look at that over the weekend. If you have any questions, let me know. But again, this is a great opportunity to buy low. We're coming back, guys. This is a temporary setback, and it's media frenzy. And if you remember one of the great quotes by Warren Buffett, he said, "Be fearful when people are greedy, and greedy when people are fearful." He said he likes buying companies when they're on the hospital table. And they're not really on the hospital table. They're more in the urgent care clinic because they have a sprained ankle and they're not having a heart attack. But Baron von Rothschild said it best. He said, the best time to buy is when there's blood in the streets. And it's time to buy, people. If you're not doing it, this is the point where people make money. Not when the market goes up, but when the market goes down. We have great companies. They aren't going anywhere. They're industry leaders. They're getting bailouts. They're in industries that the government's not going to let fail. And we've seen what happens when there's even a smidgen of good news. These stocks soar. So get in, get your discount early as possible, and we'll see you on Monday. To get more information on the sales cheat code, go ahead and click on the subscribe button below. Also, down below in the video description, down there, there's a link that takes you to our website that gives you additional content, some additional freebies that we have, and gives you information on some programs that we have that have been proven to help people to make sales easy so that you can make the kind of money you want, live the lifestyle that you've always wanted, and not have to struggle in the process. And what might be the coolest thing of all is you don't have to put much effort into it. It truly is a cheat code that most people don't know about. And it's a cheat code that can change your life today. So click on the link below and let me help you start to experience these results starting right now.